I said, I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
Welcome, everybody, to the Built for Anything podcast. Guaranteed to wake up the woke and infuriate the sheep. I am your host, Hertz, and today we are going to be talking about Starbucks. Is Starbucks racist? What's going on? Let's talk about it, y'all. So, I woke up this morning and I'm seeing all kinds of news. I'm seeing people protesting. They're saying, don't buy at Starbucks. Starbucks doesn't care about black people. Newsflash, everyone. There's a lot of companies that don't care about black people. And guess what? You support them. So let's not get it twisted. Just because, these situations happen, don't think things aren't happening behind the scenes at your favorite restaurant or your favorite clothing company or whatever. It is what it is. In business, the goal of the business is to create profits. And for the individual, your goal should be to receive a service or an item. Your personal self-esteem is on you. If you feel like a company is mistreating you or not serving you the right way, you know what you do? You don't buy from them anymore. You keep it moving. All right? But that's just my little tidbit. Let's get into the actual topic. So, full disclosure, guys, I actually used to work for Starbucks back when I was a teenager. I worked there for about 2 years. It was pretty fun. I worked in the Starbucks in the middle of Times Square, 42nd Street, New York City. Shout out to New York. And, as a young guy, it was like my first job that actually gave me direct deposit. The first job that had a 401k and health benefits. I mean, I didn't take advantage of those things because I was just young and going to school, and this was just a means for me to have money for me to buy clothes. You know how it is. But one thing I'll tell you is Starbucks has always had a reputation as being that high-end coffee shop. They don't want to be like Dunkin' Donuts. They don't want to be like McDonald's. They want to be where you go to have those meetings. They want you to have that corporate vibe, right? I mean, most people want to be walking down Fifth Avenue with that cup in their hand. You know what I'm talking about. That white cup with your name written on it. And you felt like, yeah, I just overpaid for this coffee, but damn it, I deserve it. Okay, so I've seen plenty of people, celebrities, athletes, whoever, come into Starbucks to get their fix. And what I mean by fix is literally a fix, because that coffee is damn near addictive. It has to be. Because if you're willing to pay that price for that coffee, I mean, damn it, a venti coffee could run you about $8, $9, or maybe even 10. It is what it is, right? They're in the business of selling high-end coffee, and they're also selling a lifestyle to you. And people buy into that lifestyle. It is what it is. So, why are we talking about them today? Because apparently, according to reports, there were 2 black men that was arrested at Starbucks. What the hell was they arrested for? Stealing? Nope. They were arrested because of trespassing. How do you trespass at Starbucks, public place? So here's the story, guys. Allegedly, or according to reports, you had 2 gentlemen that walked into a Starbucks in Philadelphia. They were waiting for someone else. They say that they were doing business, that they're real estate brokers. And while they were waiting, I guess one of them wanted to use the bathroom, and the people at the Starbucks, the baristas, barista is what you call the people who work behind the counter. They denied them a key to the bathroom because they said that they had to buy something and that it was only for customers. So instead of purchasing something or, I don't know, maybe trying to talk your way out of it, I'm assuming things escalated. They decided to still stay at the Starbucks. And the management at that particular Starbucks asked them to leave. They chose not to. And so they told them that they would call the cops. They chose not to leave still. Cops came, asked them to leave the premises. They chose not to. And they got arrested. So here we are today. So now you have someone who recorded part of the situation when they were getting arrested. And the video actually went viral. People just had to eat this stuff up. So now you got Black Lives Matter and all kinds of people are being involved. Hashtag this. Don't shop at Starbucks. A whole big thing now, right? And so what is really going on here? What is the lesson that can be learned from this? So I want to talk about something because I'm pretty sure everyone has been in that situation. All right. So I'm gonna think of a couple of different scenarios. So I've had a situation where I went into a Starbucks. Actually, my manager at the time, when I was working for this bank, said, "Hey, I need to meet up with you. Meet me at the Starbucks." All right, cool. I walk into the Starbucks. He's sitting there. He already has a drink in his hand. I sit down. He said, "Hey, you want to get something to drink?" I said, "Sure." Walks me up to the counter. I get something to drink. We sit down, and we might have spoke for maybe 40, 45 minutes, right? Nothing wrong. We spoke. People were coming in and out. People were on laptops, but usually when you go into a Starbucks and you see people there reading or on a laptop, I typically see people who have a drink in their hand, right? And sometimes you could maybe even be a regular at a shop and maybe you didn't buy anything then, but people just know you and you walk in there and you're just, occupying the space for a while and then you go about your business. But how many of us truly walk into establishments with no intention on buying or paying for anything and get upset if we're asked to leave the establishment? Like, are you serious? That's like going to a bar, right? I want you guys to imagine this, right? You get dressed, you go to a bar, you're waiting for someone, but you want to sit at the bar and not purchase anything. Think about that for a second. The bartender's gonna come to you and gonna say, "Hey, what are you having today?" What are you gonna say? Now, what some people would say is, I'm waiting for someone, but usually you'll get something. You'll say, "Can I get a water?" Or, "Let me grab a beer in the meantime," right? Like, you just don't go there and expect to sit there for no reason. Because the way the business is looking at it is you're occupying a seat that someone else could be coming in and buying something if you're not. Now, if these gentlemen went into Starbucks and actually bought something and yet was denied the bathroom and was told to leave, then they got a case on their hands, and I fully support them. But I'm going to bring up a company name, Chipotle. Some of you guys may know where I'm going with this. Because if you shop at Chipotle, they usually have a combination lock on their bathroom door. And the only way you can get that combination is on your receipt, which means you would have to have bought something. It's just not open to the public. Now, why is that the case, right? Because a lot of these restaurants, homeless people or people who have bad intentions, they'll just come in there. Some people will wait out in the bathroom for somebody to come through and maybe assault them, or you have people that just live in that bathroom for hours and never come out. And so it's not unusual to see businesses have that kind of policy. And so Starbucks has a very similar policy. Usually you have to buy something. But how many of us has ever been in a situation where you had to take a leak, right? Like you got to use the bathroom. I know this has happened to me before. Now, I prefer not to use public restrooms. I try to avoid that. But we're all human. Shit happens. And you're looking for a place to use the bathroom. You walk into the place. Some places don't have bathrooms. Some places they'll tell you, you got to buy something. Or you go in there like a gas station. And most of the time, you know that there's a key. You would say, hey, can I get the key to the bathroom? Sometimes they'll just give it to you and you go into the bathroom. Now, the bathrooms, specifically at gas stations, is going to be horrendous. Okay. So obviously, we try to pick and choose places that we would stop to use the bathroom because we figure it'll be in better condition. Right. But if you walk into a place and I don't know, maybe you don't have money on you, or, you don't really intend on buying anything in there. And usually these policies are usually at smaller places where they're trying to control the volume of people that go into their bathrooms because they get a lot of people that show up there. So they have to kind of moderate it. Other places where they don't get that type of traffic probably wouldn't really have that kind of policy. Right? Like if you walk into a mall, you don't need to buy something in order to go to the bathroom. Usually you could just go to the bathroom, but they'll have a sign that just says, don't go in there with any merchandise, right? Because they're concerned about people stealing, right? And so if you ever in a situation, because I know I've been in this situation where I go into a place and if I have to use the bathroom, like really, really bad, sometimes I'll just tell them like, look, I've been driving for a half hour. I've been holding this in. I gotta use the bathroom. I don't got any money to buy anything in here, but I'll just be 1 minute. I'll be in and out. And sometimes, the worker there will just hand you the key or give you the code. It just depends on your approach, right? And that's everything in life. You can get a lot further with decency than you would with being rude or being aggressive. Because every business will have their house rules, but they can bend it at their discretion. I remember when I used to work at a bank, sometimes you'll have people that come in there and just sit down and they'll just be waiting. And people will come up to them and they would say, hey, how you doing? Is there anything we could do to help you? And they'll say, no, nothing. Okay, cool. We leave them alone. Sometimes you have people that come in there and they lay all their stuff out on all the chairs. And then what happens is, as people who actually come to do business are coming in there, they can't get a seat. Now that person is preventing the business from making money. So now you got to go up to that person and say, hey, if you're not here to open up an account or you're not here to do anything, usually that's the case. So raise your hands if anything that I said thus far doesn't make sense to you. Like, just raise your hands, right? Because we've experienced this all the time. And when there are issues that you can avoid, why not just avoid it? If you go into an establishment and you don't like the way they're treating you, there's different ways to go about it. But why waste your time and make it a bigger issue than it needs to be? If you were waiting at a Starbucks and you know that you weren't going to buy anything and the people in there were giving you a hard time for whatever reason, and if you're trying to do business, you know what? I ain't got time to waste. Why not just leave the place, text your buddy, say, all right, meet me over here because this Starbucks, they bugging, whatever. I ain't trying to buy nothing in there. Let's just go over there and let's meet up and let's do what we got to do. There's so many other options for you. Why are you even wasting your time if that's the vibe that you're getting? We make things a bigger issue than it needs to be. And you got a lot of people today that want to protest, and listen, there are people out there right now who are willing to protest against anything. They're just waiting to protest. Like, they're professional protesters. They got the hashtags ready. They got the signs ready, and they don't care what the situation is. They ready to go make a scene. Like, that seems to be the thing on social media now. And at some point, we can't keep trying to be a victim to everything. There are things that are in your control, and you can control that type of situation. Like, how many of us have honestly been in situations where you have to think, right? Is this really worth me even like stressing over? Rather than me just turning around and going about my business. Like, seriously. And there's always going to be people who they just crave conflict. And then you got people who understand that some conflict can be resolved. Like, there's a saying, right? All wars can start and end with the tongue, right? Because you could sometimes really talk your way out of some difficult situations. But you got to have the right mindset if that's the case. You just can't be going into every situation like, you know what, I'm a victim, I'm being mistreated, this violates my rights. And it's like, come on, we got to do better. Because here's the problem with this situation and the message that this sends. This is sending a message that you could be able to go into any business, particularly a coffee shop, but it's going to spread into other businesses. And every business has to acquiesce to the things that you want, even if you're not trying to pay. And that's a really bad precedent. Now, you have some people that say, oh, well, the CEO apologized, so clearly the workers did something wrong. I read a report saying that the manager there is no longer working there. And I'm pretty sure that person probably chose to resign because they didn't want to have to go into that location anymore and deal with people showing up in front of the store and all that drama. And as far as the CEO is concerned, what is he supposed to say? I mean, let's just keep it real. They're trying to protect their ass right now because they don't want this type of negative publicity. So yeah, right now he's willing to meet with the two gentlemen face to face and want to try to see what they could do going forward to prevent this situation from happening. Yeah, that's all well and good. But listen, nobody, specifically them, if you have a business, you don't want that kind of negative press. You don't want Black Lives Matter lining up in front of all your Starbucks causing drama. They're a for-profit business. So a situation like this, they want this to go away as quickly as possible. So how genuine is it that just because he apologizes, he just doesn't want to have to go into a situation? So come on, people. Like, do you really think Starbucks, invested their money in having Wi-Fi and comfortable seating just so people could come there and sit around and not buy anything? No, of course not. They make it comfortable because they want you to stay and want to come in with the expectation that you are going to purchase something. That's what it is. And so I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand. So had me thinking recently. I went with a friend of mine's. We went to this restaurant and we got some food and we sat there and we was talking. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And so we was just catching up on some things, and we started talking about different situation after different situation. You know how it is sometimes, when you, especially, I'm very opinionated. And so when I get into conversations, especially if it's meaningful conversations, like we could go all day. And so we're sitting there, and I remember, we eating the food, and we was just talking and catching up. And we might have been in that place, no lie, maybe 3-4 hours. I kid you not. To the point where the place started to close, right? I think they closed at I think it was maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. But we was still in there. They never once came to us and said to us, yo, you got to leave. We closing up. Like, we literally was like the last people there. But we realized that, oh shit, man, we've been here for a while. But like, we didn't realize it because we were so engaged in our conversation. But we were there for a while. But nobody ever came to us and made us feel like, yo, we gotta go. And sometimes you find where places will have, over the loudspeaker, they'll say, hey, we're about to close. So, if you're in a clothing place, for example, you'll hear we're about to close in a half hour. So, please carry your items over to the register. All places do these things because, again, it's a business and they got to go on with their business. So they're telling you, all right, you got to go. You can come back tomorrow if you want. But now, what if I'm somebody who said, oh, they asked me to leave. So you know what? They're being racist towards me. I should be able to stay here 15, 20 minutes after the fact. Like, come on. A lot of times businesses do things out of convenience for you, but it's not up to you to try to abuse it. And that's where I feel like if these guys was under the impression that they should be able to go to this establishment, just sit and do whatever they want and not buy anything and be able to use the bathroom or whatever, this sends a bad message if you got people running around saying, oh, they should have been able to stay there. They shouldn't have got arrested. I mean, what kind of message are we sending here? Not everything is personal. Not everything is a racial issue. Some things are just business. And so I hope that we can look at this situation critically and put it in its proper context and not use every single thing as a means of, oh, we're being racially profiled. We need to protest this. We need to protest that. Not everything needs to be protested. Okay, so I know some of the things that I'm saying right now, people are going to be upset. Usually, when you come out and you look at these things critically, or you look at these things from a different angle, people will get frustrated because the quick and easiest thing to do is to say, oh, well, they're just being racist towards us. We so quick to get into that victim mentality that to look at it any other way, you're a coon or you're this or you're that. You hate your own people. It's just, I'm fully aware that can be the case by me talking about this topic in the way that I'm talking about it. But I don't really give a shit because to me, I'm going to always look at things objectively and I'm going to look at it from a position of strength. If the company did something wrong, okay, then they need to be held accountable. But I'm not going to keep looking at everything as a victim. These things happen. I mean, how many of us, again, have done business with a place and not have been satisfied with the way they've done business? All we do is we say, you know what, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. That's common sense. And so we'll see, if further details come out on this. They bought something and was racially profiled, then I would love to be wrong about this. But on the surface, as it states itself, as the reports say, then no. And another thing is, why you want to get arrested for this? Like, are you serious? How many of us have been in a situation where they say, you know what? Well, we're going to call the cops. You know what? This ain't even worth my time. I'm going to keep it moving. Like, why even want to go through that process? So I hope it was worth it. That's all I could say. If you really feel like it was racism and you feel like this is something worth standing up for or making this type of situation be bigger than what it is, then more power to you if that's the case. I'm going to leave it right there, guys. That's all I got to say about that topic. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the Built for Anything podcast. I am on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, and soon to be Spotify. Also, you could catch me on YouTube at Built for Anything. Thank you for listening. Until the next episode, peace and love, y'all.